After all the traveling I've done over the past few years, I've decided to create this video to share all the tips I know to save a lot of money and time that you won't find anywhere else on the internet. This massive list of tips are ones that I wish I knew before I started traveling, and I promise you they'll make your next trip much better. Check in online. To save time, so you'll be able to check your luggage in earlier, and you can also save up to $100 if you are checking in a luggage by capitalizing on the cheaper fares that the airlines offer you when you do reserve it in advance. You also get first dibs on seating. Some airlines also let you book in advance seats for free. Usually these are Asian airlines that do this, or if you're flying from like Asia to North America, but usually you won't be able to do this like within North America or within Europe. Get a seat at the front of the plane. This makes it so much faster for you for when you're getting out, and you also get your meal first as well because they go from front to back. If you are denied boarding, on Google type in denied boarding compensation plus the country you're in to see what you're entitled to. Usually you can get a decent amount of money from this. If flights are delayed for over 3 hours and it's the airline's fault, you can get compensated for this. If it's more than 6 hours, then you can get compensated even more. And if it's more than 9 hours, that's usually when it hits the max. If your flight is canceled, then you're entitled to get a free stay somewhere near the airport and some money as well. Bring a credit card onto the plane because when you're on the plane, most airlines will only accept card and they don't accept cash. So if you want to buy something, you need to use a credit card. If you are on a layover, some airports actually have free showers that you can use. Most of them don't though, but if you do have access to a lounge, most of the time the lounges will have a shower. If you're on an overnight flight, I recommend bringing earplugs and an eye mask because it's going to help you so much when actually trying to sleep. I've tried sleeping without them before and it's almost impossible if you're a pretty light sleeper like I am. There's a lot of airports that have their own app which has the map and it'll just help you get around. It's also going to show you all the restaurants and the amenities that the airport has as well. The gate that it says on your ticket isn't always the same as the actual boarding gate. This is why you need to check the big board when you're at the airport to make sure you're at the right gate, because sometimes they are different and sometimes they do change. In terms of packing, there's always a big debate on whether or not you should use packing cubes. In my opinion, if you're an organized person, you probably won't need them. But if you aren't, then I definitely recommend using packing cubes because it does help you stay organized while traveling. And that's mainly what they help for, is organization. If you do need more space, then there are these compression packing cubes that you can use, which suck out all the air so that they actually do provide you with more space. I only recommend doing it if you're only going to one destination and you don't need to pack multiple times, because if you do, that's just gonna get really annoying. I'll link them below as well as anything else I mentioned, so you'll be able to find them in the description, linked below. If you have no room in your luggage, then you can bring some small shopping bags and pack some stuff in there, or you can buy something at the airport and get a shopping bag and just pack stuff in there. Also, you're allowed to have as much as you want in your pockets, and after you pass security, you can just take out an extra bag and put all that stuff in there. Also, wear your heaviest shoes or the ones that take up the most space, since shoes usually waste the most space when packing, so that's going to save you a lot more space. You can also wear as many layers as you want, so like a t-shirt, 2 sweaters, a jacket, all of that you can wear on yourself just so that it doesn't have to go in your luggage. But if you do want to avoid all these unnecessary packing issues, then use my packing list, which I'll link below. At most airports now, you'll need to have all your liquids packed in one little bag, so if you pack them in a bag, usually a plastic bag before, then it'll just save you a lot of time since you can just take that out. And the most liquid you can pack is 100 milliliters per bottle. And you can bring as many of those as you want, just make sure they all fit in the bag. Usually you can have more than one bag and they don't really care. You can bring breast pumps through, which doesn't count towards the luggage allowance, and you can bring a cooler, ice bags and milk all over 100 milliliters. If you want to bring liquids over 100 milliliters, then make sure it's frozen, because you can bring frozen liquids through as long as it doesn't unfreeze before you get through security, so you just need to make sure it stays frozen. Some airports offer free layover tours if you're there over a certain amount of time. If you want to be in the shortest line, most people tend to go right because it's their dominant hand, so choose the line on the left. Lines with business travelers usually move much faster than lines with kids because the business travelers tend to be in a rush and know what they're doing. The longer your charging cord is, the better, because when you're traveling, you never know how long of a cord you're gonna need, so always just bring the longest cord. Always bring a portable charger as well, because you never know when your phone's gonna die. Pack some common first aid kit items like for nausea, headaches, or food poisoning. That's a really important one. Dress as comfortably as possible for your flight because you're going to be sitting in one spot for a long time. Usually it's cold on the plane, so bring a sweater with you and some long pants. If you're really in a rush, you can get one of those buggies with the airport staff to drive you to your gate. And also if you have any physical disability, they'll allow you to use those too. The website flightaware.com is very useful. It'll just show you if your flight was canceled or delayed. If you want people to be able to track your flight, you can do this by typing in on text flight and then your flight number. People tend to be really defensive. So if you want an upgrade or some sort of compensation because something happened to you, yelling will not be the answer. If you talk to them nicely, they're more likely to relate to you and you'll be able to get what you want. Drink water during takeoff and landing to help your ears not clog. If you boarded later, take any spot in the overhead bins in front of you as you're walking to your seat, because the ones around you are most likely to be full. And always put your bag in front of you instead of behind you, because when you've landed and everyone's walking forwards, you don't want to be the one person walking backwards. It's just going to be a lot harder to get your bag. Make sure to pack the important stuff that you'll need for your flight in your personal bag because it's just harder to get to your carry-on. Pack liquids and electronics at the top since you're going to have to take them out when you're passing through security. It's just going to save you a lot of time. And bring headphones so you can hear the movies and the TV shows on the plane. Most of them require the original aux cable. Download some movies, podcasts, or shows, especially if you do have a long flight. And if you have a really long flight, plan what you want to do in advance because it does get really boring. And for long flights as well, pack a change of clothes so that you can change on the plane or even when you land. If you want the best views for watching your phone and you don't want your hand to get tired by holding it all the time, then take the paper bag that's in the seat and you put it into like the food tray and it holds your phone on top of it. That way you can watch shows without your hand getting tired and it's like the perfect view. And opening up the air vents above you is going to be the cleanest air on the plane. So if you do get really stuffy like I do, the air vents are going to help at least a little bit. The worst currency exchange rate is going to be at the airport, so never exchange there. My recommendation is doing it back at home so that you don't need to waste time while you're traveling looking for a currency exchange place and just doing it, and you'll be able to start exploring right away. Watch out for cabs in front of the airport because a lot of them are just scam taxis. Walking away from the airport usually gets you cheaper Ubers, taxis, or any other service. You can even get on a shuttle from the airport, one of the free ones, and just go as far as possible and then order your Uber or taxi or whatever from there. That way you won't have to pay the airport tax just for getting picked up from the airport. eSIMs are very convenient and there's a lot of them out there. Airalo is the most popular one, but also the most expensive. The cheapest one usually depends on the destination, but I've heard Nomad is pretty cheap. With the convenience and recent popularity of eSIMs, traditional SIM cards have actually gotten cheaper, and buying them at your destination will usually be the cheapest option in terms of getting SIM cards. If you're staying in one country, I would recommend getting a SIM card just in the country, but if you are traveling over multiple countries, then I'd probably get one of those regional or even worldwide eSIMs because that's probably going to be cheaper. Lots of airports and countries let you buy things tax-free. Just as long as you keep the receipts, you can get your money back on the tax when you're leaving the country or the airport. When you're going through security, make sure your water bottle is empty because it has to be under 100 milliliters, and then you can fill it up in the fountain afterwards. If your airport doesn't have a water fountain, then I recommend using one of these filter water bottles to filter the water, and they work pretty well too, so I'll link them below. And you can just fill up any like sink water at the airport. When going through security, you might need to remove your belt, empty your pockets, and take off all real jewelry. If you're wearing fake gold, don't worry about it. Sometimes some liquids like sunscreen are prone to exploding due to the pressure. I would keep those in a Ziploc bag to make sure that if they do explode, they don't get anything else dirty or damage anything. You can take any food you want through security. So to save some money, you can even bring a full meal because the food at the airport is really expensive. You're just not allowed to take any fruit across. There's been many times when I've been traveling somewhere and there's been a customs form I had to fill out, but never been given a pen. So pack a pen to make sure you're not stuck without anything to fill out the form or have to wait in the long line for people who are giving out their pens. If you're bringing a checked luggage, make sure you mark it with something noticeable because so many luggages look the same, especially if they're dark blue or black. Basically any other dark color. Weigh bags before you fly. All airlines have a weight limit on bags baggage so that you know if your bag is over the limit or not. This is also just going to save you so much time and stress knowing that you'll be able to take your bag on board for sure. There's usually a weight limit posted on carry-ons, but nobody ever checks that. So if your checked bag is over the limit, just put your stuff in your carry-on. Anything that's really heavy should go in your carry-on as well, so that you'll be sure to make it through with your checked baggage. Check everything you can bring on board with you before you fly so that you don't get stopped for having something you're not allowed to have. And you can also check the size limit for each type of bag you can bring on board so that you don't need to pay for checked baggage after. In Europe, they usually have a checking system for carry-on sizes as well, and this is very common on Ryanair and Wizz Air flights. And batteries, like for drones or a lot of other things, need to be in your carry-on. Take a photo of your suitcase, so if it does ever get lost, you can easily just show the staff that photo, and that way they'll just be able to locate it faster. I'd also recommend having your email, phone number, or name on the luggage so that if it is in another country or located somewhere, it'll be easier to contact you when they find it. If you always want to know where your luggage is, AirTags are definitely the best way. As long as there's an Apple product nearby, it's gonna show you exactly where your luggage is. So if it is in another city, you can tell the airport staff exactly which city it's in. If your items are lost, then having photos of the stuff that you have in your luggage will help a lot with insurance claims. Scan all the important things you need. Number one is definitely always having a scan of your passport, but also some addresses or some tickets, especially if they're expensive, will be helpful too. Download your boarding pass to your Apple Wallet. This is just the fastest way to get through security that I find, because you don't even need to open your phone fully. It just shows up as a notification, you click it, and there's your boarding pass. If you parked at the airport, take a photo of your parking spot and the number so that you remember exactly where you parked. Check in online. Most airlines let you do this 24 hours before, but some will let you do it 48 hours or even 72 hours, and some even earlier. So just check based on the airline. This is the best way to make sure you get the seat you want and skip an entire line when you're at the airport. If you want the least amount of turbulence, then sit near the wings. If you're traveling in a two-person group, then you can book the window and the aisle seat, since it's less likely that someone's gonna take a middle seat and you can have the entire row to yourselves. You can also buy a fully refundable seat and then cancel the seat beside you so that you have two seats, and that way you can have someone not sitting there. If it's a longer flight, pack some stuff you might need like toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, all in an easily accessible spot. If you want to know which seats are best on a plane, then check out Seat Guru. Wipe the seat and the tray using Lysol wipes because those are usually really dirty. Bring a mini fan to improve air circulation as well. It's usually pretty minimal, but it'll do something. If you want the best circulation, then you can also buy a mini air purifier that's battery powered. If you need rest, especially on a layover, check if your airport has a quiet area where you can go sleep. A lot of airports will offer free lounge passes based on the lounge, the airport, and the country you're in. So check that in advance, maybe you have access to one. And getting a travel credit card will really help as well. Mine offers free lounge passes, travel health insurance, and also car rental insurance. If you're in Canada, that's the BMO Ascend World Elite MasterCard, but lots of other countries have their own version of this card as well. Less than an hour is a very risky connection, and I would try to avoid those as much as possible. Early morning flights are less likely to be delayed because schedules change more often as the day goes on, so there's just a much better chance of your flight not being delayed if you book it in the early day. Check your flight status before you leave to the airport. You wouldn't want to get to the airport if your flight has been delayed or even canceled. In terms of booking tickets to get the cheapest rate, be flexible with the day you want to take off and land, and also the airport you're flying out of. Not all planes have plugs. If you check online, it'll usually show if your plane has them or doesn't. If you're flying within the same continent, usually you won't get any food or meals, except for Asian airlines, where you basically always just get food. And you can check this online as well if you are getting a meal or not on your plane. Some airlines let you pre-book the meal you want in advance. So if you want like a vegan meal, a high protein meal, or a keto meal, pre-book those. Duty free often gives out free samples, so when you're at the airport, take advantage of that. Some airports will check your carry-on luggage when you land as well, so make sure you didn't buy anything at the airport that you're not allowed to have in this other country. Some airports have security checks right at the gate of where you're taking off, so you won't be able to buy liquids even at the airport. Check if you need a visa to the country you're flying to. Usually, visa on arrival is the most expensive, so get it as early as possible. Check if you need any other documents to get it. Visa usually isn't the only thing you need to get into some countries. Sometimes there's health check, tourist tax, that needs to be bought in advance, or just some random documents. If you're flying to Bali, then they need like 4 different documents. Just check in advance where you're flying to. Check if you need anything for layover spots as well. Sometimes on your layovers, even if you're staying in the airport, you might need to fill something out. Book longer layovers in cities you'd like to explore. It's just a fun way of getting to see another city that you wouldn't see, and it's usually cheaper to have layovers on your flight plan as well. If you are on a layover, you can leave your luggage at the airport in some luggage lockers. Luggage lockers are cheaper if you do go into the city. Just make sure you check in advance if they do have them when you arrive in that city, because you don't want to be later walking around with your luggage the whole time. If you're going to be changing time zone, use the plane to adjust your schedule. Call the airline if you're in line and there was a delay or a cancellation. It's just going to help speed up the process for you. I really hope you enjoyed the video and found these tips useful. If you did, I would really appreciate you hitting that like button and subscribe for more travel content. That's it for this video, and I'll see you again in the next one.